What if I told you your productivity system is actually what's making you feel overwhelmed? And that replacing it with one Notion template that's built around the 10 best productivity methods could finally give you a clear head and a focused week. Over 2,500 people use this system, and it's rated 5 stars across the board. I've had multiple people tell me that this literally changed their life, which is not bad for a Notion template. If you're the kind of person who's already using 5 different productivity apps and you still feel scattered, or maybe you've tried building your own Notion template, but you kind of just gave up halfway or it wasn't working, then you're exactly who I built this for. In this video, I'm going to show you the exact productivity system I use to plan my week, prioritize my projects, and stay focused without wasting time trying to build your own system. You'll walk away knowing how to finally simplify your setup and actually stick to it. See, most productivity systems fail for 3 reasons. They're bloated, they're confusing, and they don't reflect on how real people actually work. You either spend hours tweaking a setup that you never use, or you bounce between different tools that don't talk to each other. And that's why Headquarters is different. It's one dashboard built inside Notion using only the methods that actually work. No widgets, no fluff, just clarity. Now the dashboard is broken into tasks, projects, workspaces, and life buckets. And we'll go through all of that today. So the first productivity method is the to-do list and calendar. And I actually look at these as one tool. So in Headquarters here, my today, which is my to-do list, my weekly calendar, my monthly calendar, and task list here, they're all actually the same database. So I'll just show you how this works. If I add a task here, let's say you do content marketing or something, and we'll do brainstorm content ideas. So here's your task. And if we click on today's date and say the 18th here and scroll up, you can see brainstorm content ideas sitting in here. Now we have 3 different views in here. Now under week's tasks here, if I check this in, as you can see, it actually gets removed from this list. So under this tab, I'm seeing all of the tasks that I haven't completed yet. But of course, if I want to see it, I can click on all this week and I'll see all the tasks this week, whether it's completed or not. And then of course, under my month, I can see my month. Now, as you can see, brainstorm content ideas is sitting here under my day-to-day. Speaking of, let's get to the next productivity method, which is time blocking. So let's add some more tasks for today. Let's say you do marketing or something. So I've just added some fake tasks here. Before I get to all of these different properties here, which are part of the other productivity methods, let's first look at this column here, the time column. This allows us to time block directly in our Notion dashboard. So let's say brainstorm content ideas. Let's say I started this at 8 a.m. And let's say it's about a 2-hour task. So I'll A/B test subject lines at 10 a.m. Let's say that's a 2-hour task as well. I'll design email layout at 12. I'll design a banner at 2. Let's say that will take about an hour, and then I'll research new trends at 1. So what I've done is time block my day in my dashboard. So if I scroll down, I can see all of my tasks here in my calendar. Scroll down further, it's also in my task list here under the order tab, which I'll talk about more in the next section. Time blocking is crucial for an effective system. But like I said, there are a few other properties here. So let's get to the next 2, importance and urgency. These here were inspired by the Eisenhower Matrix. So you could see important, not important, and move the needle. And then under urgency, we can see urgent, not urgent, and habit. So when designing this template, I realized that not all tasks are equal. And under the order tab here, something incredible happens. Let's say research new trends, for example, is not important and it's not urgent. Then let's say our boss asked us to design a banner. And honestly, it's not important, but they said that they need it today. So it is urgent. As you can see, it actually jumps up in the queue here because this task is urgent and this one is not urgent. Then let's say design email layout. That here is important, but to be honest, we don't need it anytime soon, so it's not urgent. And again, you can see that it jumps up in the queue here. And then we have A/B test subject lines, which is important and it's really urgent. As you can see, all of these tasks here reshuffled in my Notion dashboard automatically for me using the concepts from the Eisenhower Matrix. And once you start having a very long list, this will help you a lot with scheduling. Because if I scroll up now and look at my day-to-day, I can see here, you know what? I'm prioritizing designing my email layout before designing the banner. It probably makes sense to do the urgent thing first. So I'll move these around and I'll have this as 12 and this at 2 instead. So now we're time blocking and also using the Eisenhower method. Now next to this, we have this column called state. So if I click here, you could see flow, quick, easy, and personal. These are the different state of minds that you have to be in order to complete these tasks. So a flow task is one that probably takes about 2 hours. It involves a lot of cognitive focus. Then we have a quick task, something that you can do in about 5 minutes or 2 minutes. Then we have an easy task, which is something that takes about 20 minutes. And then you have a personal task, which is, seeing a friend or something. So what we'll do is go through these tasks here and label their state of mind. And you'll see why this is important. So A/B test subject lines, that is a lot of effort for me. That's a flow task. Design banner here. You know what? That is reasonably easy. That might take 30 minutes. Then we have design email layout. That's a flow task as well. And research trends. That's also a flow task. So now I understand the state of mind that I have to be in order to complete these tasks. Now what I'll do is click here on week's tasks, and here I could see flow, easy, flow, and flow. Now this here is actually breaking one of my productivity rules. I have the rule that I can only have 2 flow tasks per day, because if one flow task takes about 2 hours to complete, then 2 of those tasks is obviously 4 hours. And the brain can actually only do full cognitive focus for about 4 hours per day. So we're just creating an unrealistic schedule here. Yes, you could obviously just do 3 flow tasks in one day, but you'll probably be tired the next day. If you're draining yourself every single day, then you're going to create an unrealistic calendar and you'll burn yourself out. So now what I'll have to do is move one of these tasks to the next week. So by looking at these flow tasks here, it probably makes sense to move the not important and not urgent task. So I'll click on research new trends and I'll change the date here to next week. This way of scheduling has helped me out a lot, as I now have a sustainable calendar, but also I'm more reflective on the tasks that I'm about to do. It makes me second guess on whether this task is worth my time. And the time blocking, Eisenhower Matrix, and energy scheduling has really helped me to cut down on my workload. Now, when you're planning out your day, you want to think about which task you should do first. Now, there's 2 ways of thinking about this. You might be the person who wants to do a quick task first. This typically works best if you're the kind of person who struggles getting going in the morning. Or let's say you have to do something you hate doing, like A/B test subject lines, for example, then you might want to schedule that first. So we'll change that to 8 a.m. And if you're doing this flow state task first, something that you absolutely hate, this here is then a frog task. And why is it a frog? Well, it comes from the next productivity method of eating a frog. The idea is if you have to eat a frog at one point in the day, then you might as well get it over with and do it the first thing in the morning. All right, let's tick in all of these tasks here. And what we'll do is plan our Monday. So I'll add some more tasks. All right, so here are my fake tasks. The last 2 things that we haven't talked about is the bucket and the project. So the bucket here is your life bucket. It's kind of like the different categories in your life. Now, all of these here, plan campaign, blog, meet with boss, write captions, and research new trends, all of these here are actually to do with job. So that one's pretty easy. I'll select job here, and I'll just drag this down so they're all to do with my work. But these here are different projects. So if I click on project here, as you can see, we don't have any projects showing up. And this column here is connected to my projects list here. But since this is a new template, we don't have any projects. So let's add some. We have plan campaign. Let's just call this the marketing campaign. And then I'll click here on add new project. Write blog. Let's say that this here is to do with the blog. That makes sense. Let's say the meeting with boss here is also to do with the marketing campaign. So I'll just click here and now select on the marketing campaign. Write captions. Let's say that this is to do with Insta. And then research new trends. Let's just say that is to do with Instagram as well. Now, the reason we're filling out the bucket and the project is it's going to help us with context switching. So what I'll do is scroll up here, and all of these here are also to do with job. So I'll just add that. Brainstorm content ideas, blog, design banner, blog, email layout, marketing campaign. So when you add a task, you'll fill out these 2 columns. So if I scroll down here and click on job, and let's open this up, you can see here under my day, I'm seeing all of the stuff that's to do with my job. And if I scroll down here, I can see all my uncompleted tasks just to do with my job. So this is only the stuff that's been labeled with the bucket of job. Now I won't be distracted with the other areas in my life. This job page here, I can also see my work projects, and I can also see my notes to do with work. So that's how life buckets work. And we have admin, fitness, business, relationship, family and friends, study, career, and job. And of course, you can add more life buckets. And as part of these buckets, we have projects. So here under my projects, I can see the Insta, the blog, and the marketing campaign that we created before. So let's label these quickly. We have Instagram here, and that counts as my job, of course. And the status here is something that is ongoing. Then under blog, of course, this will be also job, and the status here will be ongoing for that as well. And then we have this marketing campaign, which again, of course, is job, but the status here is deadline. There is a deadline to it. So let's say that this here is due on the 30th, for example. So here I can see my projects broken down by deadline and ongoing. And just like we clicked onto the job page when we wanted to focus on our job, if we want to focus on a specific project, then I could open up the marketing campaign here and see all of the relevant tasks to do with this campaign and see all of the relevant notes and all of the relevant bottlenecks. Speaking of, let's talk about notes. So here I can add a note, and this will be specifically to marketing campaign. As you can see, it automatically labels it with whatever project page we're in. And here I can take my note, note 1. And obviously, if I open this up here, I can say blah, blah, blah. But this is most likely not how we'll be working. See, most of the time you'll be sitting with this headquarters dashboard open. So I wanted to make it easy to add a note, and hence we have this button here, take a quick note. So if I click on this, then this allows me to instantly take a note, but that can automatically get added to the life bucket page. So let's say it's to do with a job, and the project. So again, let's just do marketing campaign. And we can also add a topic of interest. Let's say that interest here is marketing. And here I'll say blah, blah, because that's a really useful note. And now I can click away. So now what I've done is not get distracted, and I've avoided context shifting by just taking that note in an instant. But unlike most note-taking systems where you take a note and then you never see it again, with this system, I'm going to see it when it's most useful to me. So when I'm working on this marketing campaign, I can now see note 2 sitting here. So it's showing up where it's relevant to me. And of course, like I said, it will show up on the job page as well. So for our tasks here, we've talked about time blocking. We've talked about the Eisenhower Matrix. We've talked about the state of mind. We've talked about the life bucket, and we've talked about the project. The last thing here is minutes, and this here is to time track. Time tracking has genuinely been the most useful of the productivity methods, and it's completely changed my life. So as we're working, what we'll do is track our time, and this here is just by manually entering the minutes. By the way, this template does work with Notion Calendar, and you can automatically time track in your Notion Calendar if you prefer. There's a link in the description on how to do that. But of course, you can just manually enter the minutes in here. So I'll just say 120, 120, 120, and let's say that this one was 60 minutes. Now, we're not just filling out the minutes for the sake of it. If I scroll down here and go to our workspaces, in our workspaces here, we have this page called time tracking. So let's open this up. If I scroll down here under time on buckets, I can see here my job. So here is showing up all of the tasks that I've done to do with my job. So we have 420 minutes, which equates to 7 hours. And if I click on time on projects, here it breaks up my time based on the projects. So for the blog here, so far we've spent 240 minutes. And for the marketing campaign, we've spent 180 minutes. So after we've completed a task, we'll label it as complete and we'll say how many minutes it took. Then I now have this page of data with where my time is going. Now the next productivity method is journaling, but this is unlike one you've ever seen before. If I click on the plus here, you can see these page templates that come with headquarters. So we have habit 1, 2, and 3, which I'll talk about later. We have a daily journaling entry, we have a weekly and a monthly. So let's click on the weekly review here. See, the thing that I found the most difficult with journaling is I didn't know what to write about. So I built this thing called dynamic journaling. And what it does is lift in the task that you've completed this week directly into your journaling. So this here automatically appeared and it's showing me the task that I've completed this week. So now I can use these tasks here to journal. Looking at my task list completed this week, do I feel like I accomplished enough? What were my biggest distractions this week? This here has changed the way that I journal. And not only can I journal here by writing words, blah, blah, but I can actually use the next productivity methods directly inside my journal. So if we look at these tasks here, A/B test subject lines, design banner, design email layout, and brainstorm content ideas. Let's say, hypothetically, I designed a new email layout that doubled conversion. If I click on important here, you can see this option here saying move the needle. So let's change this to move the needle. If it doubled conversion, then I would say that it's had a pretty big impact. So let's say A/B test subject lines also move the needle. So under this tab, needles this week, I can find all the tasks that I've done that have moved the needle. So that was done in my weekly review. But if I scroll down here and go again to my workspaces, you can see this move the needle page. On this page, I can see all of the tasks that have moved the needle. This helps me find patterns in the things that I'm doing that are worth the energy. And this system was inspired by the Pareto Principle, the idea that we get 80% of results from 20% of tasks completed. So you want to reflect and find those tasks that are that 20%. So you can do more of those tasks. Let's have a look at the last productivity method. Now, my calendar right now is only to do with work. So let's add some stuff that's not work related. Let's say that I am trying to run a marathon. So I'm going for a run. And let's say I'll run at 5 o'clock. We don't have to say if it's important, but the urgency here is a habit. The state of mind, this is personal. And the bucket here is to do with fitness. And obviously we don't have to add a project, but let's say that I am running a marathon. So I've added this task here and added this project. If I scroll down now and let's open up this run marathon. Let's make this full width. So here I can see my tasks. Here I can see my notes, and here I can see my bottlenecks. And this is the last of the 10 productivity methods that have changed my life. So let's click here on template. And what we'll do is change this filter in here to only show me the tasks that have the project that contain run marathon. Let's just say I really struggle with actually going running. I say I'm going to and then never do. Well, here what I can do is journal about it. Now, this isn't like your weekly review. This is about one particular subject, and that's that I don't go running, and I want to. It hurts my feet after 1 minute. Okay, so now I've done some journaling about it. Well, just by having this one place to write about it, it helps me to find where I'm being held back. And I realize that my shoes are bad. And we're not just going to write that my shoes are bad. We are going to fix this bottleneck. And to fix my shoes are bad, what we'll do is buy shoes. And not only am I adding the task, but I can literally schedule that for today. So by doing this bottleneck analysis, not only have we reflected by journaling, but we've been proactive and created the tasks that will address and fix this bottleneck. Now that we've understood the productivity methods, let's go through the rest of the template by looking at the workspaces here. But of course, there's a link in the description to the template if you're ready to get started. So let's go through our workspaces. If I click here on quick notes, I can see, of course, all of my different notes. But like I showed before, because we're filling out the projects and the life buckets, and those notes automatically appear on those pages, you probably won't use this page too much, but of course you can always access them here. Then we have our resources. So the resources hub is a great place to add your books, your courses and webinars. You can also add your articles, newsletters, posts, files, and topics. So let's just add a book. All right, coming soon here because I am actually writing a book. So here we can add the topic of interest, the creator, when it was finished, the status. So are we currently reading it? Do we want it or have we finished it? Let's say we finished the book. We can add a URL and we can even review it. And let's say my book was a 5-star. And you can add a cover image here as well, which will show up here. By the way, to add a resource, you can just do it with a quick button at the top here. Then on the personal page, you can see all of the personal tasks that you've done this month. If you're someone who works a lot, it can be useful to track all the personal stuff you're doing. So here I can see this run task. If you're studying, we have this timetable page where you can literally build your timetable directly in here. And not only that, if you click on these blocks, it actually connects to your project. If you write here something like a marketing class, and let's create that class here, I can now actually click here and open up this page. So then in this marketing class, I can see all of the relevant tasks, all of the relevant notes, and all of the relevant bottlenecks to do with this class here. We also have the ideal schedule, which is just a page for you to design what your ideal week looks like. And these blocks here connect to my ideal life activities. Let's say hypothetically, you would love to play golf every week. Now that you have this task here, you can say, ideally, every single Monday at 5 o'clock, I go and play golf. So this is just a page for you to design what your ideal schedule looks like. We've gone through the move the needle page. We've gone through the time tracking page. Then here we have our habit tracker built in, and the habit tracker is not a separate database. It's showing me my habits from my task list. So the run and the weekly journal. And that's because this run task here is labeled as habit. So here I can see them on the calendar, and let's say I tick in that I went for a run. If I click on the bucket here under fitness, I can see that I've run once. Then here we have our open loops. Our open loops is a page with all the unfinished projects that we have and all the unfinished tasks. The reason I made this page is some of you might struggle with finishing the workday and going to bed, but your brain's still thinking about work. So just having a page where you know all of the unfinished projects and unfinished tasks that you have, you can quickly go to this page and see if there's anything that you do need to worry about, or after scanning this, you know what, I can shut my brain off. I don't have to think about work anymore. Then we have a mobile HQ page. And this here is just a mobile-friendly version of headquarters. So I can see all of the quick buttons here. I can see my tasks in a gallery instead, and this is separated by the ones that I haven't done and the ones that I have completed. I can also see all of my uncompleted projects sitting in here as well. This is just really useful for the mobile. There's also a link in the description on how to make this page here a widget on your phone for easy access. So that's our workspaces in here. We've looked at our life buckets, mainly looking at the job page, which has a slightly different layout to the others. If we look at the fitness one, for example, this is how the other pages look. We have our tasks, we have our notes, and we have our projects. Again, this is just super useful for avoiding context switching and for helping you to focus. We have our projects, we have our tasks, we have our calendar, and we have our time blocking. And we have two last things to go through, the routine button and the other task templates in here. The monthly review works very similar to the weekly review. This journal entry here is blank. It's just so you can do your daily journaling, but with that task template, it automatically labels that it's a habit, not important, quick, and adds it to our journal page. So let's talk about these habits here. Here we have habit 1, 2, and 3. If I click here on habit 1, all it does is create habit 1 here and change this urgency to habit. So let's say you go running very often. Well, what we could do is click on this down arrow here and change these habits to whatever we want them to. So let's say habit 1 here, let's rename this by clicking edit, and let's change this to run. Plus, because we're editing the template, we can add if we wanted to automatically have a bucket. So for run here, let's say it's fitness. The project here, let's say that it's run marathon. State, let's say it's personal, and I'll click away. So now when I click on the plus and select run, all of this stuff here automatically shows up. By the way, if you want running here as a recurring task, there are a bunch of different options to do that, and I'll have a link in the description to a full tutorial on recurring tasks in Notion. All right, let's look at the last feature, which is the routine button here. If I click on routine here, you can see this habit 1, 2, and 3 gets generated. So what I'll do is just drag this routine button down to a separate line. Let's create another task here, which is drink 2 liters of water. And we'll say that this here is a habit. And to be honest, this doesn't need a bucket or a project, and I'll click away. What we can do now is click on this gear icon here for the routine. And what we'll do is delete these 3 here. So I'll click on delete. And now what I'll do is drag this run task into this block here. And I'll drag the drink 2 liters of water in here as well. And I'll click on done. And I'll simply drag it back to where it was. Now, if I click on the routine button, these 2 tasks here get generated, and I can simply drag them into my day. So it's a very easy way for me to add a bunch of tasks into my daily schedule. And that here is the full tour of headquarters and how I implement the world's best productivity methods directly into it. Now, at this point, you've got 3 options. You can keep juggling different apps. The second option is to try and do it yourself. You could spend the next few weeks testing productivity systems, building your own. Or option 3 is to download headquarters. It's already built, it already works, it's already helped thousands of people to feel clear, focused, and in control of their day. This wasn't made for people who just want a pretty dashboard. I understand that it might not be the most aesthetic. Headquarters is designed for people who want to achieve their goals, stay consistent, and finally get results. Click below and get instant access to headquarters. And by this time tomorrow, you'll already be more organized than you've ever been. The sooner you get this set up, the sooner you take control. Now, if you are going to get headquarters and you want to see the full walkthrough, then click on this video here. I go through all the sections in a bit more detail so you can get up and running with everything. Click here if you want to check it out. Thanks for watching.